as the administration is trying to pressure Israel not to conduct a full-scale invasion of Rafah in southern Gaza.
Illegal border crossings along the U.S. southern border have decreased by over 40% this year after reaching record highs in December.
U.S. Border Patrol recorded roughly 129,000 unlawful crossings in April.
The U.S. Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on Dmitry Yuryevich Khrushchev, a Russian national alleged to be the leader of the Russia-based Lockbit ransomware gang.
In a news release, the Treasury announced Khrushchev's indictment.
Bernard Jr. Polite, 26, faces homicide charges after his cousin was found fatally shot, according to the Allegheny County Police.
Polite was arrested Sunday after allegedly attempting to shoot Pastor Glenn Germany.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact.
That's a fact.
Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee, and hot.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
I don't know why you gotta talk like that. What are you, on the radio or something? Oh, I gotta put on my phony voice. I don't know. Don't sound like Neil Peart to me, but it does kind of sound like Kitty Lee. I don't know. You probably don't even know who those people are, you young whippersnappers. Good morning, folks. Good morning, America, Canada, and all you shithole countries around the world that don't really matter. It is Thursday, May 9th, 2024. I'm going to have a tough time today because a worm ate my brain. But other than that, things are looking up. It's a very beautiful day outside, spring-like day. But again, the brain worm thing might cause some problems today. I'm a little nervous because we're going to have a chief federal judge on today. Like, I'm not prepared to go in front of a judge today. He's an author, so he'd be wanting to talk about his books and not necessarily throw me in the pookie. I don't know. Maybe that was Freudian. I don't know. Listen, happy birthday to Billy Joel, 75 years old today. That will drive Scott Braven nuts. Scott, the bass player from the Rockin' 45s, who hates Billy Joel with an irrational passion. I don't get it. You know what? I don't get hating musicians, actors. I can get not being a fan of those or being really sick of their music. But what Scott has for Billy Joel is kind of like what I have for Donald Trump, only like amplified. I mean, he hates the guy. Anyway, I will move on. I'm sorry about this. Aaron Bullitt is supposed to be here in the first hour. Stephen McGuire is going to be here in the second hour, who is an author, political intrigue, political thrillers. I want to question the judge about judges, first of all, and judges in politics, because we hear a lot about judges these days. It's almost like the Al Pacino movie, And Justice for All, where everybody in the legal system is totally fucking crazy. It's almost like that, or exactly like that. Precisely exactly like that. So I'll ask him about that, and maybe he's just as fucking nuts as they are, and then whatever, whatever you get, you get. I'm always surprised by when normal people or seemingly normal people come on the show as a guest and enjoy what we do in the morning, because they're not prepared for this. They're prepared, even the ones from the publicists and the ones from all these digital broadcast. I'm trying to get used to saying that. Digital broadcasting platforms where people, apply to be guests. They see the evening program. They don't see this, and then they get here and they're like, "Oh, what did I just step in? Something smells." But they don't say that. Are we locked up on? It looks like we're locked up on YouTube here. That's not a good thing. Is that a good thing? That's a terrible thing. Are we broadcasting? I don't know. I think we're broadcasting. Yes. That was a little disturbing there. We got locked up. I don't know what happened there, but the radio feed went down. YouTube went down. Maybe somebody's up on my pole or something. Anyway, 47 years ago today. 47 years ago. I'm telling, maybe it's 46 years. 46 years ago today. At this moment, literally 4 more minutes, I was in a phone booth in Amityville, New York, freezing my balls off. Here's what happened. I was in New Mexico going to school, and then wrapped up the year in the first week of May, and then went out to South Laguna, California for a couple of days. And in South Laguna, it was 90 degrees while I was laying on the beach. And then I caught the red eye and got to LAX and caught the red eye back to New York. I was going to surprise some of my high school friends, just, pop in. And I was wearing shorts, a T-shirt, and I think flip-flops. And I got off the bus and it was raining and 34 degrees in New York. And they basically left me at a phone booth, which is no longer. They don't even have phone booths anymore. But at 10 minutes after 9 on May 9th, it was 34 degrees and raining. So today it's probably got about 72 degrees here. Perfect. But so, you talk about weather, and we think, and I complain about how spring and summer aren't getting here this year. They got here faster than they did. Of course, on May 10th of 1978, well, the year I'm talking about, we went to the beach the next day and it was almost 90. So there's that. If it's almost 90 tomorrow, I will have an erection and I will show it to you on this program. I opened by talking about the worm, and I just don't know. I just don't know what to say about this. And I'm sure the gentlemen are going to have something to say about it. I think we might even have RFQ call in. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Claims, I don't know if he has documentation about this, that a doctor told him that a worm had eaten part of his brain and died in his brain. And he's running with that as like a campaign thing. I mean, it wasn't bad enough to put out a video calling yourself a crack addict, whatever, a heroin addict, whatever, womanizer, or a guy who forced his second wife to kill herself with his infidelity and all that kind of stuff. He put out that video. That wasn't bad. Why not go shoot a puppy, Bob? Maybe kick a kitten, shoot a puppy. I don't know. But now he's embracing that and going, I would have 5 more brainworms and still be smarter than those guys. And the people who support him are embracing it too. They're running with the worm ate my brain platform. This is the time we live in. And Mike Binder, who I follow, I like Mike, but he's still. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The thing of the thing. RFQ, as insane and crazy as he is, his platform was based upon, aren't you tired of voting or choosing between the lesser of two evils? Now he switched to, I might be a third evil, but I'm still lesser of an evil than those two bastards. That doesn't solve anything. That just adds one more evil to the mix. And I'm not saying the evil. I'm just saying bad choice. Of course, one of them is evil. He might be evil. He got his wife he told his wife to off herself. He told her, yeah, you kill yourself. And she did. And he didn't show any remorse. He went out and got another hottie or whatever. But as a political consultant that I've been for many years, and I'm not going to, I'm still on the ballot here, by the way, for Congress in the 3rd Congressional District. I'm not going to be running on anything like a worm ate my brain. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to try to, if I ever go out and say hello to anybody and tell them I'm running for Congress, I'm going to try to point out, my positives. I got a nice mustache. That's what I would run on. I have a nice mustache. Could use a shave, but I have a nice mustache. That's my platform, not a worm ate my brain. All right. I think that's enough of this stuff. I'm going to play a commercial, and when we come back, you'll be surprised to see that there will be 3 other gentlemen here with me after this.
Mind Bloom is helping people achieve life-changing clinical and personal breakthroughs, alchemizing both the psychedelic medication, psychiatric care from psychiatric clinicians, coaches, we call psychedelic guides, and a lot of content and meditations and programs into this really transformational experience that, because it's delivered at home, costs a lot less and is a lot more convenient for people to receive.
Nice box, baby. And here's get out of my spot. You worm-eating bastards. Good morning, worm-eating bastards. I mean, brain.
Good morning,
bastards. I mean, wormies.
Good morning, America.
Good morning.
MindDogTV.com. Mother's Day is coming. It's so close that the floor is wet and we can see it crowning. So deliver the perfect gift for your imperfect mom. MindDogTV.com.
I think you offended Stephen with that because he ran away. Like, hey, you can't talk about my mom like that.
Well, he just remembered that he didn't buy a gift.
That's well, then I would have ran out because I definitely didn't, and I'm a little I don't know. I'm worried she might kill me in my sleep. But what the hell? I mean, it's not for my mom. I mean, I buy for my wife, who is not really the mother of my children. I guess I should. I don't know. Do you? Or is it etiquette to buy a Mother's Day gift for your ex-wife, the mother of your children? If you have been with them before, it's
etiquette, but it's not proper etiquette.
Ron,
it's
your mic is.
Yeah, there we go.
It's not. You're not supposed to do that, right? So I don't have to. I don't really have to buy for anybody, do I?
Not unless you're still sleeping with her. Then maybe.
No, I'm not doing that. But
well, they don't even have to be sleeping together if they're just having sex, because he doesn't have to sleep there. He could just have the sex and leave.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he could do the Trump.
Erica Rose brought up a thing about sunglasses. She said she lost her sunglasses, and the best way to find them is to go buy a new pair of sunglasses, and then you'll find your old ones. I think that works with ex-wives. Like the minute you get married to your second wife, the first wife will show back up in your life. Like, so they're like sunglasses in that respect. I wonder if we
I wound up with 3 pairs of prescription glasses that way. I lost a pair and I couldn't find it anywhere, bought the second pair, and then I found the first pair, lost those 2, bought a third pair, found the other 2, and then I wound up with 3 sets.
I like how you just said, like we don't have enough women listeners. Women are like sunglasses, you know.
Did I say we don't have enough women? I say we are predominantly male. That is true. I would love to have more women tuning in for whatever reason could buy products that we could pitch them, so that we could actually pay the bills because I'm tired of digging in my pocket to pay the bills. That's all I'm saying. I'm being honest here. Because a worm ate my brain. Let's talk about that because you guys have to have some something to say about brain eating worms. No, you don't.
Well, first of all, he claimed, he being RFK Jr., says that he's for transparency, full transparency. He won't release his medical records. So that's the one thing. The second thing, the thing that the damage that the worm supposedly had done to his brain would not cause the short-term and long-term memory loss that he says he suffers. But the mercury poisoning could. He was a huge tuna fan. He had a lot of tuna, a lot of seafood. And back in them days, as any environmentalist lawyer like he used to be could tell you, mercury was very prevalent in tuna. So
you just confused the hell out of me. First of all, let's go back to where you started. He did
1959. I was born at City Hospital.
You started by saying that he won't release his medical records. Have you asked him? I haven't seen anybody say ask him.
Yeah,
that.
It was an interview. It was an interview with Carol.
And what was you saying? Confidential. I mean, is that common? Do they always release their? Because Trump
presidential candidates almost always do until Trump.
Trump put out Ronnie Jackson's thing that said he's Superman. He's the best. He's the sexiest god who ever lived.
Right, up until Trump, tax after post Nixon, and up until Trump, presidential candidates released their taxes and their medical records.
All right, Stephen, get on top of DP. Let's answer that. Hello, you're on the air with the dog. Still ringing. Hello, you're on the air with the dog. Who am I talking to?
This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I want to talk about some brain worms.
No, I really don't want to talk to you, but could you put the worm on?
What worm? I got some loss of memory.
How did the worm get in there?
Well, like GD was saying, I love tuna. And I love taking my temperature at the same time. So a lot of times when I would eat tuna steaks, I would shove a thermometer up my ass at the same time to take my core temperature, because that's important.
All right. So basically stay away from that stuff is what we should be doing. I'm just trying to figure out how I could avoid getting a brain. I feel like some days I wake up and I feel like a worm ate my brain, but I've never had a medical confirmation of that.
And a lot of times I would like to go out in the Kennedy compound and dig up worms from the ground and just eat them. You put a little salt on them. So good.
All right. Now, I don't know if you heard before you called in this morning, our chief political correspondent, G.D. Fenderson, claimed that you refuse to release your medical records. Is that true? And if so, why?
Well, no one needs to know. I mean, isn't my terrible voice enough to know that I'm pretty fucked up already? I mean, if you can't put two and two together, why are you even voting?
All right, I'm sorry to laugh at that, but it's kind of funny. So basically, you are embracing the worm thing now. So I'm wondering who your political who's in your campaign that is telling you that this is a good idea. Run on that. It's like put out a bumper sticker: the worm worms are good for you, or you seem to be embracing every negative aspect. What the hell's going on?
Well, Matt, I would like to say, if you actually knew me, you know that I'm a fan of 90s comedy. And in my campaign, I have Pauly Shore. And if you remember, Pauly Shore was the weasel. But guess what? I'm the worm.
I'm wondering if we could.
You're stealing Dennis Rodman's moniker? You know, Dennis Rodman is still using that.
He can try all he wants. I'll battle that motherfucker in a 1v1 basketball. Let's go.
All right.
Have you seen how crazy he is? He tackled Shaquille O'Neal. He tackled the Twin Towers in San Antonio, and they were on his team at the time.
Well, I'm just a little. I eat worms out of the ground. I mean, how crazy is that?
Wow. Birds do that. That doesn't mean they're crazy.
True, but birds aren't real.
They're just smart enough not to run for office. They know they're not qualified.
Of course, I'm attacked by GD with his left-wing propaganda of eating worms. Guess what?
Hey, I got your gander right here. I'm sorry, that's the New Yorker in me coming out.
I'm going to take this moment and make a campaign.
Guido Fenderson on the Coffee with a Dog program where he did the Inner Guinea came out.
The Inner Guinea. That's what the G stands for. The G stands for Guinea.
You got ungats. That's what you got. You got ungats. Now I'm confused because did a doctor actually say this, or did I'm not going to make. We're going to let you go right now because I know your voice is hurting, and I would like to get Ron Kane back in here. So thanks for calling in, and maybe we'll talk to you tomorrow. But I'd like to know.
His voice may not be hurting. His voice is certainly hurting Ron.
It's hurting my sphincter. I'll be honest with you. Every time I hear him, I'm like, I got to take a shit, and I don't have to take a shit. But when I hear that voice, I feel like I should have to take a shit. Did his doctor actually say this, or is he just claiming that a doctor said this? Because I this morning there was some kind of like, I don't know. You see these documents online, and you're like, that's fake. And it looked like a fake doctor's report because doctors don't like do internet memes.
Well, according to the interview that I saw, initially, and this was back around when Ted Kennedy was still alive, but he had been diagnosed with brain cancer and he was being treated for his brain cancer. RFQ was suffering symptoms, and they thought he had a brain tumor. And they were actually about to operate to remove the tumor because that was the conclusion they came to based on the symptoms. But before the operation, a specialist, a worm specialist or cranial parasite specialist,
why not just call a bird? Hey,
well, I think
birds aren't real.
You don't call the bird until you're actually ready to do the surgery. So what happened is that the specialist said, don't do the surgery. We suspected you have a parasite. So then they ran those tests and said, yes, it's a parasite. And that's when they got the the cranium opened up and got the bird in, and that's it. That's how, and actually that's why the worm is dead. The bird, decapitated it.
These Kennedys cannot hold on to a brain to save their lives.
I know.
I swear.
Unfortunately, very accurate.
That may be the best Kennedy. That may be the best dead Kennedy joke we've heard for a while.
Right.
With the exception of, but Robert, of course, his dad is going, oh, it's not.
Speaking of bullets.
Speaking of bullets.
What a transition.
From Kennedy to bullets to bullet.
Right. It's time to bring in our first guest of the morning in the name of
Ron.
Aaron. I shot Kennedy bullet.
Thank you. You're welcome. He had to go. Him and his damn politics. I'm tired of that shit. Okay.
Aaron Magic Bullet.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, you should change your middle name to, instead of middleman, you should change to Aaron the Magic Bullet.
The Magic, yeah.
Yeah,
come on, man.
I mean, I think I'd get a lot more feedback, and it's just, it was Kennedy's fault. It wasn't me. I had to do it.
I don't know. The last dude named Magic got AIDS. I wouldn't do that.
Oh,
he literally owns.
Steven's on fire this morning,
right? He got financial aids.
Steven,
I mean, I don't think that's bad. I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
So
good morning, I know we're going to hear that. I know we're going to hear that in your next set about Magic Johnson getting financial aids. I know that's going to be in your next comedy set. You're going to work it in there.
That's just my personal belief. I'm like, I don't feel bad. I mean, he just and it makes money. Hey, I've never seen it before. I'm
is
happy
he
for
still
him.
Magic Johnson's still alive, right?
Yeah.
He's prospering like a mother.
Very alive.
He discovered the cure to AIDS is injecting $100 bills.
Right. He never got AIDS. He got he was HIV positive.
Yeah. Right.
But I remember when he gave that press conference, everybody thought like, oh, he's got like 6 months to live or something. And here we are 32 years later, 34 years later, whatever the hell it is. And he's still kicking.
Well, some people thought it was 6 months to live, but not because of HIV, but because Cookie was about to kill his ass. Because she was like, "You could have been giving that shit to me." That's why they thought he had 6 months to live. It wasn't the HIV; it was his wife.
And you were all children except for GD, who was an old man when he came out with that. But I'm surprised that anybody even like his name even has any relevance anymore because people don't.
He's the most positive NBA player there is.
Yeah, and he's still playing, and he's still doing commercials.
Steven, are you following at the NBA at all? Because my team, team I used to root for when I was a sports fan, is against your team.
They whooped him last night, so we're coming home and we're gonna bring the win back. Let's go.
I'm not following it, but it's very. I like watching Sam Morrill follow it because he cares, and it reminds me of a time when I cared about anything. I like seeing people who can care about something in this world, and that's so.
I care about making it.
Yeah. Well, I care about making it. I know. Yesterday, Lana was it kind of made me. Not that I'm a believer in making it anymore, but this idea that people can cater to you and take care of all the bullshit for you, and all you have to do is create your comedy, create your music, whatever you do. That sure sounds like making it to me. I mean, I would call that making it.
I would love to have that.
Same. Yeah, I'd love to have somebody book my gigs and that negotiate for me.
Because some people. Yeah, we say, oh, I'd love to have that. But then there are control freaks who you're giving up control when you do that. They have control over the set, the design, the makeup, everything. They're taking control of the editing and all that stuff. And not everybody, you might be down with that in the beginning and saying, yeah, that's what I want. But then if they come out with a product that you're not happy with, you'd probably be like, oh, fuck it, I got to take control. They're control freaks. That's all.
So you guys basically want a colonel from Elvis. I mean, look what happened to him. He did all those shitty movies. That's what happened.
No, I'm not saying I want a colonel from Elvis. I'm saying I want somebody to handle the shit that I don't want to handle.
Right.
And that's what the colonel did for Elvis. Look at him. He did all those movies.
No, but there's the things that I don't want to handle are the booking.
Black guy fight.
What I don't want to handle is the politics and shit. I just want to work on the creative end, which would be the stage presence, which would be the writing, the creative writing. So the actual performance is what I want to do.
That wasn't much of a black guy fight.
This black guy fight was nothing like Fox News says it is, and frankly, I'm disappointed.
I'd rather have Jake Paul.
They're not mad.
That's because
these colored guys aren't fighting like they're supposed to.
First of all, Aaron and I have been around long enough to realize that if you really want to see a really good black guy fight, we need to do it on World Star.
It has to be on World Star. Someone has to be shirtless. There's prerequisites. It's like the Boondocks. They call them nigga moments. There's these prerequisites that have to happen. I got to step on his shoes. You know what I mean? Like you can't just happen. But
the people on Governors, I just want to say, Aaron is not familiar with the no N word until we're off Governor's rule. That's fine.
It's not Black. It's not February. I forgot.
Listen, I don't think any black people watch the Governor's Network anyway.
I don't watch it, and I'm currently on it right now.
Yeah, exactly. So all that's good. I hate to get back to the worm thing, but just for a second here, is it like a tequila worm? Because I've drank a lot of mezcal. All that, is it the same worm? Because that's what. Do we know? Have we seen a picture of the worm? Do we know what the worm looks like? I'm afraid there's a worm in my brain eating it. That's at this moment. Do we know?
I'll be right back. I think I have. I have documentation.
Look, it's too much.
I shall return.
Oh, you're mind dog, not mind worm.
Yeah.
I'll be gone 30. I'll be gone for like 45 seconds. Maybe a minute. Maybe a minute.
Aaron, tell us what's going on in your world and what you've been up to.
For me, my world's been good right now. Excuse me. I'm actually focused on expanding. That's actually why I reached out to you a week or two ago, because that's kind of where I'm at in my career.
Yeah, then you we were supposed to get together the next week, and you didn't remind me, and it blew past.
Oh no, it's all good, that's where I'm at in my career. 6 years in, and I feel like I've done pretty well in my comedy scene here in Louisville. I've hosted my own shows, MC, featured, headline, and that's why I kind of want to reach out and get your guys' opinion about how do you guys navigate those next steps. Finding a second city. And that's funny you guys mentioned actually like finding someone. I actually enjoy that. I enjoy the booking process. I enjoy the business side of it, because I think to me it helps me on the creative end, because like I know I'm in control. Like I know.
Have you checked to see if you have a brainworm?
No, I haven't yet. You know what I mean? I was in the Navy, so it might be in there. It might be in my ass.
If you enjoy the bullshit, you might really have one. I think because it's the more you deal with it, I don't see how anybody can enjoy that stuff. Like the bullshit I'm talking about is the end of the night, and you're supposed to get paid something, and there's a guy with a story, and all of a sudden the envelope doesn't match what we agreed upon, or any of that kind of stuff, or there's so much bullshit that I can't even begin to. And if enjoying that, I can't imagine anybody enjoying that. It's like it's saying I enjoy getting raped without a drop of lube, with the biggest fucking cock possible. That's what.
Are we still talking about Magic Johnson?
No, that's not big. The biggest. Shaq has the big. You obviously have not heard.
Actually, Chamberlain. I mean, that man. I mean, look at his record. Or Steve McQueen. No, those guys. They slang dick. Now,
those guys were carrying. Those guys were carrying a bologna roll, if I've ever seen one.
So I think 5% of the population is at least related to one of those two guys. At least.
If I may be serious for just 1 second, I think for comedy advice, if you're looking for advice on career advice in comedy, the best person on this panel, in this program, to talk to that about that would be the man right above you, who is always quiet about everything. He's always waiting for, I'll just listen. That guy. He probably got the most sage advice. I think he's the most elder statesman in the comedy world. I could be wrong about that, but I don't count GD because GD is a music guy first and then got into comedy later in life. So I don't know, it's a different thing. But so if you guys want to,
Ron, you have no audio.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
I'm muted.
No, Ron.
Ron's not.
Ron has no audio.
I think he was talking. I couldn't hear him.
Try Ron. No, we're not hearing you.
No.
We lost you. Let me see if we have mic settings.
Brainworms got him.
Edit mic settings. No, he's not. I don't know, Ron. That's terrible. It doesn't say a lot.
Matt, your setup was really nice and everything. You were like, this guy's a statesman. He's a wizard. He knows everything, and we can't
try going out and reconnecting, Ron. Try popping out and popping back on, and we'll see if we get your audio fixed. That would suck. I mean,
but that does suck though, especially and I can't tell you like how many times I've had to do that. Where like, and my biggest thing with getting paid on comedy shows, it's more about like conversation, right? Like if you're like, I feel like a lot of bookers aren't upfront. Like, if you're not going to pay me and you're like, hey, this is about stage time, that's cool. But if you say you're going to pay me. Like, I tend to take more of the Suge Knight approach to my money. I tend to be very straight up and upfront about it. But I've definitely had that. And I just think, and it's weird because, like, especially as a comic, there's weird ways of payment. Some people are like, I'll pay you before the show, after the show. I've literally had a booker actually in the middle of a set try to hand me some money. But I just think that's more about like, I try to do, I like written agreements. I try to like, if I meet with a book, I'm like, look.
I agree. Yeah. But you know what? Money is just one of the many, and I haven't dealt with any of that stuff in a very long time. Thank God. But that's just one of the mountain of dates changing, whatever, last minute cancellations for reasons that never make sense, all sorts of kind of things that go wrong. That's and the other stuff about the dry bar comedy is they handle everything from making sure you don't have to promote the gig. They're going to promote it and fill the room for you. I mean, hello, that's you know, that's a blessing to most people. We hustle all our lives trying to promote gigs and get people to come. Ron, test your audio.
I think it's working now.
It's working.
Hey.
Unfortunately, he has a brainworm and he won't be saying anything that makes sense. But
no, I mean, I do a lot. I do a lot of booking for myself. There's another comic that I do booking for, helping him out, and yeah, like just having stuff in writing sometimes, and like for me, I just won't like. If I'm going to go someplace, I want to have multiple dates together and build them, because it's really kind of pointless for me to like get a gig, say, I don't know, 6 hours away and just drive all, 6 hours for that one little spot. At that point, you, unless the gig is like really, really good, but I haven't seen that yet where anything's been like, oh, I got to drive 6 hours for at least. The pay's got to be really good, or I got to at least be able to bundle it with something else. And honestly, for me, that's the hardest thing to do sometimes is getting dates back to back together. That can be tough sometimes in the same city, because sometimes you're dealing with an indie club, or you're dealing with an indie producer, and it helps a little bit if you can kind of see like their resume, or kind of at least see what type of shows they're producing and like the feedback they're getting.
That dry bar thing came because I reached out to a couple of other people I know who've done dry bar, and that does seem like a whole. It's taking everything you do to a whole other level, where especially it's done in a movie studio, so they bring the crowd in. They make sure everybody's in the right place. They take care of the lighting. They take care of the stage design. We'll tell you what clothes to wear, all that stuff. It makes it so easy that all you have to think about is, I'm going out there to do an hour. I just want to make sure my material is good as that. For an artist, that's what you really need to do to be great. I mean, and I don't know if Netflix treats people quite like that, where you don't even have, because I've seen people doing Netflix as a joke and they're promoting it pretty hard. Like, so I don't think Netflix is responsible for filling the room for them. But with dry bar, it's done in the TV studio and there are no tickets sold. The dry bar people bring the audience in. It's like like GD shows. They have a canned audience waiting to come in. But that sounds like a dream come true to me. I don't know. I've been having erections all night over the whole idea.
I'm a little bricked up myself thinking about it. That'd be nice.
I don't know how you reach that point where dry bar call you and say, "Hey, we saw you, and we just would love to just do all the bullshit work for you and treat you like a queen or a king or whatever."
You might need a reference to get in there for them.
The other part of that is you have to go to Utah and perform for a bunch of fucking stuck-up Mormons. I'm sorry, Mormons. If we did we just lose the whole Mormon audience?
Probably.
Yeah.
All 7 of them. Damn it.
And they're shitty crumble cookies. They're shitty cookies.
Those cookies, man. Those aren't even cookies. Those are a mistake.
Wait a minute. Cookies?
Do you have hey Aaron, do you have a good EPK and everything put together?
EPK, what's that, if you don't mind me asking?
Electronic press kit.
Yeah. So it's have your bio, resume.
Yeah. And that's what you gotta do with my manager, my girlfriend April. Usually, how we normally go about it is like, let's say if it's a club, if it's a club or an indie booker. Sometimes they reach out, but usually we reach out to them. Send my bio, hey, and I send them sometimes like a YouTube clip. Hey, here's some of my material, and go from there. And usually we get good responses. But the biggest thing is it's just a me thing that I've noticed, because I put on some shows and I try to pay when I put on some shows, or me and my girlfriend do. We try to pay people. Like that's the biggest thing in comedy that I find so fascinating. This is one comedian I can't forget. Her name was Brandy. I forgot her last name, but she actually put on Instagram. She talked about that in LA. Like, you would think, being in LA, that it's all professional and everything, but no, it's like most comedy scenes. People don't pay you on time. people, hey, you'll be scheduled to do 10 minutes. They want you to do 20. And I don't know if it's just comedy. And again, I'm not a music person, but I do find in comedy, it's like, especially with promoters and dealing with like the booking side of it, people really are like fucked up and shady. And it's like, I understand everyone's trying to make money. It's a business, but I think it's to me, it's very straightforward. It's like, are you going to pay me or not? And if you aren't going to pay me, cool. Hey, help promote. Like, just like it's a two-way street. But I find a lot of people are in comedy for the clout or for the money. They want to be seen on a flyer or on YouTube, or they want the money. But like by money, I mean like they'll charge. The most I've ever seen someone charge for a decent comedy show is like $100. Like you don't get food, and I feel like that's kind of what makes people hesitant about comedy. Is like no one's like pushing it forward of like, hey, people want an experience. People want. People don't want, the material, it's about the comedy, but I think that like people want the experience. They want to feel like, like who wants to see a comedian like fucking angry? Like I've had to do that. I've had to go to a comedy club and I'm promised to get paid and like, hey, we'll give you 15 minutes. And for me, that kind of, I'm still gonna be professional. I'm still going to do my job. I'm still going to do my set, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, man, fuck this shit. And like, I think that ruins the experience. I think like, I would love to hear you guys' like worst experiences with booking and stuff and getting paid. Because for me, like I've had so many experiences where like people just don't just be real with me. Like even if you pay me like $5 or like just being honest, like I don't know, like what's your guys' worst experience with booking or what?
I just had a question real quick. So the guy tells you before you go on stage, I'm not going to pay you, and then expects you to be funny, as opposed to being smart and waiting to after you're funny and saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm not going to pay you."
Yeah, like I'm not going to say the guy's name because
it's okay. He's not listening. You can.
But it's like so. It was at a country club. So
it rhymes with country pub.
Yeah. So it was in like Clarksville, Indiana, country club. He's like, hey, hit me up. He's like, man, I'm in the feature. Can you do like 15 minutes? I'm like, yeah, no problem. My manager, she, confirmed everything for me. My biggest thing is what time do I need to be there? What kind of materials are clean, dirty? Like I have like a list of things that I go through just because people aren't transparent, went through everything. He was like, I'll pay you, I'm not going to pay you just for experience. So I'm like, okay, which I'm cool with. Sometimes I don't mind doing stage time just to get better. Cause it's a continual thing for me.
It's
so we
original
get there.
sin.
Like it's to me, it's like it's a thing to where like I don't do stand up for the money. I do because I really love the craft. Like, don't be wrong. Like if Netflix, if like we'll give you 10 specials, $10 million, I'll fucking do it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's like I love comedy to where like I just believe in like this is something that I love doing. So he was straight at that time. He was straight with me, and I knew going into it, I'm not gonna get paid. I'm gonna get 15 minutes. Hey, he might, I might get some food, some beer, but ultimately I'm working on material. So going into it, I was like, okay, fine. I prepared, did everything right, followed. He's like, hey, you got to wear this. It's clean comedy. Fine. I get there because I like to get to clubs like an hour to 30 minutes before because I like to see, I like to meet people. I like to shake hands. I like to get a feel for the stage. That's just how I prep. I get there, decent crowd, wasn't too bad. Then, because it was like two other comedians before me. First of all, the first comedians, they were just dirty, cussing, say whatever. So I'm like, okay, you told me I was clean, so to be clean. So I'm like, okay, fine. But before I go up, I talked to the dude. I'm like, hey, man, like, these other guys, they didn't follow any of the things. And I literally saw them. He handed them like some money. So I'm like, okay, man, if you're going to do that, then, what's up? He's like, oh, well, you didn't hand out, because sometimes I don't know if it's locally. Some bookers will make you sell tickets. Like you got to sell like 10 tickets to get some money. Like weird shit. I don't know why that's the bartering system is the thing in comedy. But I was just like he just told me all these things. I'm like, dude, like if you would have told me this shit like before or been honest with me, then I would have said I still might have said yes.
Communication is everything, but selling tickets has been a part of it for as long as I can remember, but it comes back to the original sin in comedy. Now, I know you guys are not of the generation to understand this, but when comedy clubs were not always a thing. you had vaudeville, and then you had comedians who were featured as part of like variety shows. Those people got paid. In New York here, we had the Catskills, where there were a bunch of hotels and there were comedians performing as part of a nightly show as a variety act, and they might do 30 minutes and they would get paid nicely. Comedy clubs came around, and in New York and LA are where they started. The idea was not to pay comedians. The Comedy Store, Mitzi Shore, never paid comedians for the first 10 years she owned the club. Didn't pay them a dime, wouldn't even give them a soda for free. You came here, you were doing time to work on your material, and that was the bargain that you made. So from the beginning, and here in New York, we had Caroline's, we had Dangerfields, we had all these places. Nobody ever got paid, not a dime. And so once you start from that place of original sin, it's hard to climb out of that hole and say, we're worth something now. In LA, they actually had a strike. David Letterman and Jay Leno were part of the guys who led the strike. I think it was like 79 or 80 or whatever, where comedians were not doing the comedy club and forced Mitzi to pay something, but it was still peanuts. And so that original sin has never been cleansed, and I don't think it ever will. It's kind of like you take it for granted that there are so many people who just dying to get on stage, and they don't really see where it leads to.
So it's kind of like modern day slavery when all these black people.
Use that analogy, but
when all these black people wanted so badly to be slaves that they just didn't get paid. And then once they got their freedom, they said, well, we still don't want to pay you.
There was so much upside to slavery.
Yeah, I mean, they were like, we were the ones who put us in chains. We built the ships, we went through everything, and it's just like, we still haven't got that money back.
Well, if you could see the long term that there was either boxing career or I don't know, like a
rapping
in it for you,
basketball, I mean, so many different things. Slavery.
Listen, if you were still in Africa, would you be on the Mind Dog program? Probably not. So
you never know. I don't know. Hey, maybe in another world, over in the verse, maybe white people would have been our slaves, and then you guys could be mostly in the NBA. Who, you know what I mean?
Don't even talk like that on this.
Now, I got as someone that produces comedy shows, I have some very strong feelings about this because if you really look at the comedy, if you look at any comedy scene in general, there's always people that put on shitty shows and charge way too much because you can see the talent level. So you have like all these inexperienced producers that aren't, on top of that, are not good at all because they're like, oh, we just get some comedians and we'll throw them up on stage and we'll charge, let's say $30. But the reality is most of those comics have no business being on a show where the ticket price is $30. Because if you're paying $30 to go see a show, your headliner better be fucking good, honestly. Right. And not some, local yokel is like, hey, who wants to hear, who wants to hear my best misogyny jokes? That's the best 5 minutes that I got. And when it does, and when it comes to getting paid, I like for me, I want all that shit up front. I want they're going to tell me in my emails and things like that. And I've noticed too. The real tell is if you go to a show and they're like selling, they are selling tickets and all online and stuff. Most of them don't have the cash up front to pay you. They'll tell you this story. Oh, it'll be a few days until we cash out. Then you probably got to start following up with them because, by Wednesday, when that rolls around, they're kind of hoping that you won't contact them so they can keep your, $50 or $30. Like when I produce shows, when you're at the end of the night, everyone has cash in their hand because I don't want to play that game of like waiting for Eventbrite or whatever, because I think that's part of like owning like the business end of it. If you're going to be a good showrunner, you pay your fucking talent by the end of the night. No matter what. I just feel that's like the transaction that should be expected. It's not.
Yeah, I agree. You can't be charging people for shitty quality. I mean, from the audience perspective, if I would be really angry if I had to pay for a ticket or a huge cover to see people who aren't as funny as the people back in my living room. I would probably be a little upset about that and let the owner know about it, and he would let the producer know about it. If you're going to be producing shows, see, I got in a lot of trouble in the music world for saying I was a fan of closed mics more than open mics, and people, what the fuck does that mean, closed mics? Closed mics is where you know that the people who are doing the room in advance, you check them out, you vet them somewhat to know that if people are paying to come in and paying for food and drinks at the bar, you want to make sure you're giving them some kind of quality. Now, I understand open mic is meant to give people who've never had any experience at all. But for that, I think you got to not charge. First of all, charge nothing at the door, and then have it on an off night and reduce prices for drinks and all that stuff. If the plan is to make something out of an off night while giving some experience to newcomers, you have to kind of frame it in that way so people know. You could come in here and see people who you just want to walk out on, but it's gonna half price drinks and half price sliders or whatever to make it worth your while to even come out. But
well, here's the real tell. If you go do a bar show and you go to this bar show for comedy, and they still leave the TVs on and all that shit, that's a bad show producer, because you should tell the venue, like, hey, when we're doing comedy, there's no music playing, there's no TVs. And I've run into venues where they're like, yeah, we won't turn off the TVs. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do a show here.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? You're not respecting what you're paying me for. So
back when I was a young man, I used to hate the idea of TVs still being over me until I played a gig where it was playoff time, and every time something good happened, people would stand up and cheer, and it felt like they were cheering for me, but they were cheering for what was on TV.
Yeah. And I think that's important, because me and my business partner, we run shows, and I think I agree with you, Ron, about the money. Like, what are you paying for? Like, for example, we've run some shows. We get people, if you buy a ticket from us, you'll get food, you'll get some time to meet the comedians. And I just think a lot of people, or the crazy thing I've seen on shows, are a lot of comics are one of the biggest thing is we'll promote it, but we tell comedians, hey, promote it yourself. We'll give you the flyer, we'll give you everything you need. And a lot of comics are really hesitant to interact with the crowd, and it's just I think everyone's different, but I think with a comedy experience, people want to feel like they're a part of something. They want the interaction. A lot of comedians are very standoffish. They're like, no, I don't. Or I went to one show and these two comics were talking. They were like, the crowd doesn't seem enthusiastic. They're not happy. I'm like, well, that's fucking our job. Our job literally is to be engaging, be warm, and I just think a lot. It's some people, even from what I've seen from the highest level, I'm not like a superstar, but I've seen professional comedians, and people treat this like it's a transaction. And I feel like it's more of an experience. It's more about, connecting, because, someone could see you for the first time, and that could be a lifelong fan. So I feel like
because you haven't met enough creepy fans yet, because there will come a point if you do it long enough, and I don't care who you are, you do it long enough, people are going to come up after a show and want to be a friend and feel like they have license to your inner world, and then take advantage of that and push the limits. I mean, I've had stalkers. I had people call my radio show from inside my house. It was a little off-putting. So once that kind of stuff happens and you get some creepy people following you around, people think they're your best friend all of a sudden, you start to have sometimes you appreciate the barrier between entertainer and fan. I know comedy meet and greets are far more common than in music, but when you meet enough creepy people, it will turn you off to that.
Yeah.
And also,
go ahead, Ron.
I was gonna say, also for me, some of it is pride. I want to produce a good show because I want those comics to tell other comics that this guy is a good show producer. This is a good show to do. You won't get fucked over, because all comics we're like a sewing circle. When we get together,
I told you Ron was the best guy to ask for advice on this stuff, because
no, definitely your voice is needed, and that's why I think it's so funny. Like with Monique, her thing about being hard to work with, and I think that comes from and have you dealt with that, Ron? I think it's standing up for yourself, because it's knowing your own value, and you know, like again, it's that adage we're talking about getting paid. It's like, you know, I've had to do that myself where if you promise to pay me or you promise me something, I walk up to you. Like I literally had to hunt a headliner down. Like we traveled. He's like, he'll pay me $100. He said, all right, I'll give it to you in the night. Didn't give it to me. He's like, hey, I didn't hear from him like a couple of days. Then I had to call him. He's like, I'm at this restaurant with my family. Like I drove up to him. I was like, yo, give me my $100 now. And then I got this label of like, oh, he's a threat. He's confrontational. It's like, no, dude, like if you promise me something, and I agree with you, like those relationships are so important. And like, how have you dealt with that? Like kind of being in that space where you're not necessarily hard to work with, but you know your value. How have you navigated that?
Well, it's yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of that, like in our scene, with like someone that is like they're gatekeeping me because they don't like me for whatever reason, and I've never done anything to this person except I would just work my ass off, and I noticed other comics, like insecure comics, will get mad at that. Like, oh, this person went away for a couple weeks and did their own tour. But it's like, I put this together. I did all the work. I put the blood and sweat into the material and the blood and sweat in the booking myself. And, like when I went to Florida, I booked myself on 8 gigs and I picked up a 9th one when I was down there. But that they weren't just handed to me, the one I kind of lucked into, but I had to reach out to everybody, set all that shit up.
Yeah,
So
no such thing as luck. It's putting yourself in the place for the opportunities to present themselves.
Yeah,
and that all comes from hard work.
Yeah, and Aaron, I can see your point. Like I almost kind of understand why performers do end up the way they do sometimes, because the road to get to wherever you're getting is so shitty. It's like bad producers, people that tell they get. They don't want to pay you, or they want to talk shit about you because you did well. But at the end of the day, it's like we're all on the same team. But I don't understand why no one kind of realizes that. It's so weird being a comic because half of you is an independent contractor, and then the other part you still need your peers around you to get better and other shit too.
Yeah.
See, I think that's where people take for granted the support structure of having each other's back in the community scene.
Yeah.
Because where I have people in my circle who not only I respect, but I think are funny, who I will pass their names on to bookers and to people who are like, hey, do you have anyone else in mind for this show or for that or whatever? And you lose a lot of that when start talking shit about each other and you start bad mouthing each other and you start tearing each other down. It's like in my scene here where I'm at, like people talk shit on people that are successful, like
Welcome
because
to the human race.
they come to me and they'll ask me, well, how do you get gigs? How do you get shows? And a lot of times I go do the free shows and then they come back and find me. And I tell them that and they don't believe me. They think I'm just trying to stonewall them. And it's like, no, I network. I'm cool with people. I'm not a dick. I'm a dick, but not in the bad way. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference.
Have any of you ever gotten the response from a show producer where they're like, "You're not a good fit"?
Yep. Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you, Stephen and Ron, because the biggest thing that I've encountered, especially like in my scene, is especially being black. And GD, I would love to hear.
You're black?
Yeah, I know it's weird, right?
Who booked him?
Let me write this down.
I joined this show under the assumption of it was whites only.
Right.
I mean, that's why I did my hair. I was trying to do maybe a mixed origin, maybe a Latino look. I was trying to, and that's why I do the voice so much. That's how I get booked. I'm like, excuse me, I want to book Aaron. And then I'll be like, don't worry about it.
I have to turn mine off because when I start sounding like this, they all sound like I'm that redneck guy, So I got to turn it off.
I heard he was from Kentucky. I just figured he hated black people, which meant
I love black people. But the voice gets me. I'm telling you, like you'll be amazed how far you'll get when you talk like this. But Stephen, Ron, and GD, and Matt, like I've had that where. And this is just opinion based. Like the biggest thing I've had locally is like you can't say the N-word. You just can't say it. Like, and I'm like, what I actually got into it. Like, I got into an argument with a white comedian. I swear to God, I did I was at open mic, and for me it was open mic. I wasn't even mad, but like I was open mic, I was trying material out, and the word nigga pops up every now and then, and like he pulled me aside and he was like, at first he was like, "You did a great job, you killed it," right? Then like 2 days later, I'm literally like hanging out with my family. I get this like fucking paragraph of like, "You can't say that. You're offending people. People don't like that about you. That's why people don't like you. You're not a good fit." And I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Like, who? I'm like, who? I'm the kind of person, it might be the military in me, but I'm like, if you don't like me, especially in the comedy world, like if you're like, you don't like my material, that's fine. Hey, everyone has different comedy styles, but I'm just like, who? So that way I can talk to this person because like, they might not know me, and they're like, well, it's a collective of us. And I'm like, that sounds a little slightly, like gatekeeping, but to finish my point, I've had that where like, we don't like you, you don't fit. And it's like, I don't get an answer, or I have to hear through a back channel of why you don't like me, instead of like, if I go straight up to this person and I'm like, look, let's talk about it. And they're like, well, and everybody gets weird about it. Like, have you guys dealt with that? Like,
we can't address that just at this moment. It's time for news. Well, we're on a schedule here for news. We have to. You're welcome to stick with us for through the news, and for a few more minutes after that, we have the judge coming on at 10:15.
That's fine.
I have to get the news.
Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Everybody knows that.
Here comes the judge. Are you guys a little nervous about the judge?
No kid. I just don't want any dead kid jokes.
I have a feeling the judge is going to be intimidating. He's a judge. Anyway, let's get to the news and get through it really quick. Runs away. Ron doesn't like the news. Get to it,
Bernard
Alan.
Jr. Polite, 26, faces homicide charges after his cousin was found fatally shot, according to the Allegheny County Police.
Polite was arrested Sunday after allegedly attempting to shoot Pastor Glenn Germany during a sermon at the Jesus' Dwelling Place Church in North Braddock near Pittsburgh. Footage from a live stream showed Polite being tackled by a deacon after his handgun jammed. Kyle Norris reporting.
The U.S. Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on Dmitry Yuryevich Koroshev, a Russian national alleged to be the leader of the Russia-based Lockbit ransomware gang.
In a news release, the Treasury announced Koroshev's indictment and an up to $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest and or conviction for conspiring and participating in organized transnational crime. Wade Addison reporting.
Illegal border crossings along the U.S. southern border have decreased by over 40% this year after reaching record highs in December.
U.S. Border Patrol recorded roughly 129,000 unlawful crossings in April, according to preliminary government data obtained by CBS News. This marks the second straight monthly decline, bucking typical patterns where migration usually ramps up in the spring months. Liam White reporting.
The Biden administration has put a hold on the delivery of ammunition to Israel, according to statements from 3 U.S. officials.
This move comes as the administration is trying to pressure Israel not to conduct a full-scale invasion of Rafah in southern Gaza without having a credible strategy to protect the million civilians taking refuge there. Israel began what its officials described as a precise operation in Rafah on Tuesday. Paul Gomez reporting.
This is the latest news headlines.
All right, there's more. I don't know why he feels like he has to tease us like that. Alan?
Boy Scouts of America is rebranding itself as Scouting America to reflect a commitment to welcoming youth of all backgrounds, BSA officials stated in a news release.
Though our name will be new, our mission remains unchanged, said Roger Crone, President and CEO of Scouting America. We are committed to teaching young people to be prepared for life. He said the renaming is an evolutionary change, ensuring everyone feels included in Scouting America. Jim Kender reporting.
A 53-year-old Georgia woman.
Oh, man.
The Boy Scouts is now the Boy Scout. Listen, I'm trying to change with the times and grow with the current.
No,
but there's still Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts are still the Girl Scouts, right? But the Boy Scouts have to be open to anybody.
No, they don't have to be. What happened is the Girl Scouts are popular and they remain popular. Okay, Boy Scouts got a bad stigma. I don't know what happened or how they got this stigma.
That's a bad rap.
I'm just saying, but their membership started to go down, and as a result, they said, well, if we're not attracting young boys to be in our group anymore, maybe we can start attracting other
They're attracting
people as
older
well.
men.
Yeah,
Hey,
you're right.
like fucking Boy Scouts, that's intense, man. That's intense.
Yeah. Or start selling. I mean, Girl Scouts have cookies. Like, what are the Boy Scouts? What do they even sell? Like, you gotta have something.
Well,
merit badges.
There's this whole debate about whether people can really make decisions about gender affirming stuff at children, like teenage, 13 year. I don't even know the actual age for Boy Scouts, but I'm thinking it's 13. And there's Cub Scouts before that, and now it's not Boy Scouts anymore. It's Scouts of America or whatever. They just changed their name to. But I would think it's going to be a rough. It makes it even harder for people. You got a young boy who is now transitioning to girl or whatever. Parents gonna put you in Boy Scouts with a bunch of 13-year-old bullies, or 13-year-old teenager boys' mindset is like, oh, everybody's looking for somebody that they can be dominant over and pick on and bully.
Bro, Boy Scout camp was like prison. It was like prison. You had fights. You had people knocking over porta potties with people in them. We were messing up like scout leaders' cars. Like Boy Scouts was bad, and now you want to add somebody in there with sensitive feelings who's going through hormone treatment and expect them to shower and swim with boys.
Well, my understanding, if they want to open it up for everybody, then they have to be, I guess, either separate them so they're not taking the showers at the same time, or have different facilities for them. But the thing about the Boy Scouts, and Matt was alluding to this, how they start off as Cub Scouts, then Boy Scouts, and then I think it's Eagle Scouts, and then Talent Scouts. So they take them all the way up through the scouting system, so that they can so that they have access to these people all the way through life.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to answer Aaron's question though.
I do too.
Right. What was the question?
The question was. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead and say the question that way.
The question was like how they dealt with that, like being labeled as like Ron was saying, like not a fit, and being like how you navigate that, because sometimes it's not necessarily you're not a fit. It's like personal politics, and like just how you guys navigated that?
Well, when a show producer tells me like you're not a good fit for a show, that's an obvious flag for them. They're not a good show producer, because you're not thinking about your audience. It's personal, because comedy is very subjective. And what's funny about this is I was just at a place recently where two of the comics put on shows. And like the one guy I put on my show, and then the other guy reached out. Then they get back to me like, we can't put you on our show because we don't think you're a good fit. So now fast forward, I see these guys last week. I walk up to the one guy and say, hey, how you doing? I shake his hand. Then the other guy avoided me. He did the whole, when he walked in the room, he kind of seen me. Then he walked right past me and was looking around. It's like, you little weasel. So, so it kind of gives me motivation to come back and just destroy people.
If I may just add my 2 cents, and I know my 2 cents is kind of a different currency from a different country, because I'm not a stand-up comic. But whenever I've been told that, I'm like, first of all, when I was young and I would hear that, I would get offended, defensive, all that kind of stuff. Now I walk away and think, okay, I'll just get another gig. You know what? I don't even give it this much thought, but in the back of my mind, it's your loss, man. Because we pack every place we play. I don't care. There are other opportunities. If this one's not for me, this one's not for me. Move on, man. I don't. Listen, I know Seinfeld is not a popular guy yesterday, but at this moment, with all the stuff he's said that caused whatever comedians to get upset. But he said something about stoicism. Is like, don't sweat. This is going to pass. Whatever you're dealing with is going to pass. What people are saying about you is going to pass. You're going to pass. All you need to worry about is getting better at what you do, and don't even give a
crap about any of the other stuff because it's all going to fade. It's all going to be gone in a heartbeat. Your time here is, and my time is even less than any of you guys.
Well,
so I'm not going to waste time worrying about where I don't fit. I'm going to find the place where I do fit and wish those people luck. And maybe our paths will cross someday, and they'll see me in a different light, and maybe not. I don't fucking care. I don't care. I'm going on. I'm going to have I got shows that booked up through the whole summer, and people coming to see me, and that's all I fucking care about, man.
To answer your question, I've overall, it never really bothers me just because at like Matt said, I'll just get another gig. Like I don't really have a shortage of gigs at the moment, but that being said, I did get one recently, which stuck with me, which was there's a place in town called Turnstone, and it's a place for like disability rehab and all that bullshit. Right. Well, they're doing a talent show with like a $5,000 grand prize. And it specifically said comedians, musicians. I submitted and was told I was not a good fit. When I asked why, it was because of my wheelchair jokes.
How dare you make wheelchair
That's
jokes?
funny in all in itself, but that one stuck with me. I was like, your whole audience is basically crippled. And you don't want to bring a guy in that can relate with them with all the funny shit.
I don't know what words we can say, but that C word, I think, is one that gets. I think it got me in trouble a couple of weeks ago when I said it. Oh, it was a guest who started yelling at us for saying that. Anyway.
Well, guess what?
Yeah, but she also didn't like
Steve's got the right to say it. Steve's got the right to say it.
I got the C word card. He's got the N word card. Okay, they're interchangeable. We can trade. Yeah. PD has the A card.
We're going to be shifting gears to politics, and we're going to have to say goodbye to Aaron pretty soon. Here, we got a couple minutes here. Aaron, any kind of what anything you want to let us people know about before we let you go and move on to the realm of politics and books and political thrillers and all that kind of stuff? What do you got? Gigs? Anything you need to promote? Plug?
Right now, actually, it's funny. I just got an email. I'll be at the Comedy Caravan on the 15th, Louisville, Kentucky. And that same night, I'll also be at the Louisville Comedy Club. I know it sounds weird, but they're two different places. Right. On the 15th, I'm definitely promoting. But right now, I'm just working on, like you said, it's funny you mentioned Jerry Seinfeld. It's actually what I'm working on, just getting better, like understanding that of like people are going to talk shit about you. People are going to tell you how you feel, whatever. But, I try to stay focused on getting better at my craft, connecting with people like you guys so I can find like-minded people. So, yeah, I'm definitely putting some stuff out there. Hopefully in the future, getting back into running my own shows, because at first I didn't. I got tired of the bullshit, but I kind of realized, well, if you want opportunity, sometimes you have to make your own opportunity. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thanks for the advice. Talking to you guys is always great. And, I always say this is just me. Don't neglect the business side. I mean, I tell every community, because in the day, it's like the whole Dave Chappelle adage, it's not that he didn't make 50 million or he deserved, it was more about his contract and I think sometimes in comedy, especially, people can act from a place of desperation. And I can, from, again, military and going to business school, I kind of learned that, you gotta have your worth. And sometimes that even if people don't see your own worth, you have to move in a way that you feel is right. So that's just how I feel about it. But again, thanks for having me on the show.
Anytime, man. Come back. I know you make GD a little nervous because he thinks he's going to be replaced as the token black guy on the program.
Don't worry. You have that spot. I'm just here to add on.
I'm not looking to replace him, but he has health issues. He's old. You never know. So keep the energy up in case he dies immediately and I need a black guy.
You have one black guy in your pocket. You gotta have just an extra one, just in case. You never know.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being here. It's time to play a commercial. Bye, Aaron, and we'll be back and we'll meet Stephen McGuire in just 1 minute.
Hey there, fellow content creators. Are you tired of seeing your YouTube channel growth at a snail's pace? Well, I've got some good news for you. InVideo is here to supercharge your channel growth. With InVideo, you can create eye-catching and engaging videos in a flash. Say goodbye to spending hours editing and perfecting your content. InVideo's user-friendly interface makes it a breeze to create professional-looking videos in no time. But that's not all. InVideo offers a treasure trove of customizable templates, so you can easily tailor your videos to your unique style and brand. Stand out from the crowd and leave a lasting impression on your viewers. And the best part, InVideo is not just a video editing tool, it's a one-stop shop for all your YouTube needs. From creating thumbnails to adding subtitles, InVideo has got you covered every step of the way. So what are you waiting for?
I don't know about
Give your
that.
YouTube channel the boost it deserves with InVideo. Join the ranks of successful content creators who have used InVideo to skyrocket their channel growth. Trust me, you won't regret it.
I got to figure out that automatic thumbnail stuff. I'm still doing my thumbnails manually. I don't know. They say it's there. I guess I have to figure it out.
I do my thumbnails when I do my other fingers. I don't do them separately. I do them and I do all of them, and my toenails at the same time, as long as I got
All
the
right,
clippers
now
on.
we're getting a little between you and Ron yesterday morning. I still let's just get off of the toenail stuff.
Joe Exotic really likes the toes too.
I saw that we have Joe Exotic on the program. This first for he's still in prison, I believe.
He is. Actually, oddly enough, my best friend of 20 years, his mom is in charge of his commissary and his whole fan club.
If
and
you get him on the
everything.
program, I know he's done podcasts remotely from prison somehow, but I would love to be.
I have a direct
Anybody
line to Joe
who's in
Exotic.
prison.
I will ask.
I want to talk to a prisoner on the
I have
program.
a direct line to Joe Exotic. So
I'm curious is now that he's in a cage, do the tigers feel more of a kindred spirit with him because they both have that cage experience?
We'll talk to that after. Talk to that subject after we meet our next guest, and we'll talk about what we're going to talk about, which is your favorite subject is kind of politics, but we're going to talk about it in the context of political thrillers and books that you remember books.
I just need legal advice.
You remember books, right? Are you
What's a
guys
book?
nervous that we're about to meet a judge? Because the only time I've talked to a judge, I almost voluntarily put myself in jail for 10 years for. Did I tell you that story? I'm sure I told you that story where there was a guy who was on traffic court and criminal court in the same place in wherever it is. It's one town over there in Nassau County, Mineola Court, and I was there for a traffic ticket. The guy in front of me, who was supposed to be called, was Michael Nappy. But with my hearing, I heard Nap. Oh, they must be calling me. And I got up there, and there was a public defender. I was like, I don't need a public defender. I'm here for a traffic ticket. And then, how do you plead? Guilty. Okay, are we ready to move to sentencing? 10 years. I was like, 10 years? What about this? For a traffic I think it was a parking ticket or something. Turned out the guy was armed robbery or something. Michael Nappy was charged with. And like, wait a minute, I'm not him. Let's back up. So that's my experiences with judges. So I'm a little nervous today. Stephen McGuire is a retired chief judge, Federal Trade Commission, and now an author who has published 3 political thrillers. His latest is called Secret Deceit. He's here now, and hopefully he will roll with the format of this program. Stephen, welcome to the program.
I think you're going to
Yeah,
hi, Matthew. How are you today?
We're doing well.
Hey,
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I have to tell you, I've been watching the prior discussion, and I'm having some audio problems. You keep fading in and out, so if we have some problems, you'll understand.
Can we roll past that, or do we need to try to figure that out and come and reschedule this for another day?
Well, I don't know. We can continue, but I'm just saying you're cutting in and out, and I'll leave that up to you.
All right. Well, let's just make it a short one then, if we can, because I want to talk about your book, Secret Deceit, which is out now. Which it's interesting for me in the way it's painted that a president could be a threat to corporate America. Because I think the president, and maybe you're part of as a Washington insider would know a little bit more about this, but I always feel like the president works for corporate America. I've never seen one who's ever been an actual threat. Parties don't matter. I think every time the president really is in charge, corporate America is in charge. Is the idea of a president being a threat to corporate greed, and is that a realistic thing?
Well, that's a good then question, actually, and I tend to agree with your overall assessment of the politics in Washington, and corporations do have a tremendous influence on, I think, government policy. But after all, this is fiction, and what I portray in Secret Deceit is a circumstance. It's about money and power, but you have a populist president whose the legislative agenda is such that he's looking to cut back the price to consumers for their then prescription medications. So that would cost the big pharmaceutical industry billions of dollars in profits. And so a small cabal of industry then executives, not the entire industry, but a small group of these corporate titans decide that that's unacceptable because it looks like his agenda is gaining in popularity and that it's going to pass. So they hatch a coup to assassinate the president to keep that from occurring. So on the one hand, your basic premise about how power and politics operate in Washington, this is what it is, and it's not beyond the realm of possibility that a populist president pursues an agenda that is strongly backed by the public.
Yeah, I get it. Now, you're absolutely correct that there are specific industries that presidents have gone after, but I think in general, you have, they're favorable to some industries and not favorable to others. So we have kind of like a bidding war on who owns the president. Because I think you're right. Right now, under Biden's administration, at least it does seem like he's trying to attack pharmaceutical profits, but he's helping green energy profits and all that stuff. So you have kind of like warring mobster families, like corporations become like mob families. Is that a fair assessment? I think we always froze up. I think so. And you guys
don't talk about the mob. That's what happens when you talk about the mob and being
Did he get taken out?
Or at least frozen. I think about put on
that's
ice.
what I'm saying. Did he get taken out?
Put on ice.
There we go.
Stephen, did you hear my question, or and can you respond to it?
No, I didn't. I did not.
All right. You know what? Maybe we'll have to figure out a way to deal with the audio stuff. I was talking about the possibility that different industries, different corporation types, different areas of the marketplace will become like different mob families bidding for control of the legislator and the president and our government in general. So we have a situation where Big Pharma is under attack by their profits are being diminished by the current administration, but there are other industries like the green energy industry that are benefiting from it. So we have like, those are the people who are really running our government, these different corporations. Yeah.
Well, I agree that go back and read George Orwell's book 1984, and you'll see that his premise was about how a totalitarian government in conjunction with powerful corporations take control over the United States and create a dystopian society. So he wrote that in 1944. He wasn't too far off, I don't think.
Yeah, I think so too. Last night on my program, I had a guy who was brought up and indoctrinated into a religious fundamentalist cult. and we were talking about, predictions that people have made that have come true. Orwell, but my wife brought up The Simpsons. Simpsons. But I talk about Carl Sagan's prediction that we would eventually end up slipping back into a dark ages, becoming anti-science, pro superstition, crystals and psychics and all that kind of stuff, and fall back anti-science, anti-medicine, all that kind of stuff. And that's the prediction that feels like it's coming true as much as Orwell's stuff.
Well, that's very interesting, and I think I think with the advent of AI, it's going to be an interesting 20 years coming up as to what impact, good and bad, that may have on society in general.
Right. Now, with your books, first of all, are your books available on audio and ebook format, or is it just paperback and hardcover? I think we lost him again. Well, pardon me on the radio side for the dead air here. Hopefully, Stephen will be back with us, and we'll wrap this up because we are having connectivity problems. But I just wanted to know if this book is available.
Yeah, we're having some difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? I think we'll try to reschedule this for another day. I would love to talk to you about the book. Can you just tell me? I have the StephenMcGuireAuthor.com is where people can find out more about the books. Hopefully, they will be interested enough to read about it, and we'll have you back another time. Thanks for being here.
Okay. All right. That sounds great, Matthew. Right. Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. Bye for now. I'm going to take the book out and come back to this. Well, any thoughts on what was just said, or you guys just want to move on to other stuff?
I had a question I really wanted to ask him, and
he wouldn't have heard it.
I know.
What was the question you wanted to ask him? I'll answer it for him.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Okay. You have a case where, as a general of thumb, attorneys and clients have what's called attorney-client privilege, unless the attorney is involved in some kind of crime with the client. So there's the crime exception. So you have a case before a judge, and the prosecutor says, I want to call the attorney as a witness. And the course of defense says, well, no, attorney-client privilege. There's usually a hearing. Now, if the hearing goes the prosecution's way, that means the attorney can testify, which means he was involved in a crime with the client. So now the jury knows by the sheer fact that the attorney is testifying that they've committed a crime with the client. So how can the jury, anyway, how can the jury not know that they're guilty of the crime? Because now the client, the attorney is testifying. Okay.
The look on Ron's face as he hit that button. Well, I will say, are you referring to any specific cases that we might be?
I'm trying not to, because I don't want to give Trump and his people any ammunition.
Well, they listen every morning, so they could be.
If we go back in time, we don't have to use any of the kind of stuff that you were probably thinking about. The guy named Bruce Cutler. You know who Bruce Cutler was? He was an attorney for John Gotti. He was an attorney. He was John Gotti's lead attorney. But
the name sounded familiar.
He was accused of being a conspirator and accused. He was in a mob. He was mobbed up. He was part of the operation, and part of Rudy Giuliani's strategy was to charge Cutler, and now, but there was the attorney-client privilege, brought up in that, and it was never really resolved. So at the end of the day, they got Sammy Gravano to flip on Gotti and didn't need Cutler. Cutler was disbarred and went to jail, but he didn't have to testify against Gotti. But it was never resolved. But I don't know where we are with that. I think in the case you're referring to, the attorney has already gone to prison for the crimes.
Oh, well, no, I'm not talking about Cohen, though. I'm talking about Giuliani, the other 5 or 6 attorneys that are being in the January 6th trial, and
Yeah, I don't
also
know if
in
they'll.
the.
That's a good question. I don't know if they would ever flip on the Don. I think the Don has got.
But they're already testified. They're called as what they're co-defendants.
Right.
They're co-defendants, which means they've been indicted for a crime that they was involved in with Donald Trump.
Right, but so they now I don't. I'm of course I'm not a legal expert unless I can act like one. Yeah,
That's why I wanted to ask the judge.
I know you wanted to ask the judge, but he wouldn't have heard you anyway. But the question I have is what I'm imagining here is that they will be able to. They have to. If they want to take the stand in their own defense, they can do that, but the prosecutors won't be allowed to compel them to testify against.
Right, but they don't have to testify. The sheer fact that they're indicted and they're at the defendant's table lets the jury know that they participated in the crime with their client. Otherwise, they would not be able to testify or even be indicted.
So you're saying the jury will assume them guilty?
I'm asking, how can the jury not assume them guilty? Because a judge has already said that it's more likely than not that they participated in the crime. So if a judge has already ruled that,
I don't think
that's what the judge's rulings are.
I guess I kind of get what GD is saying, because like, how can you be an accomplice to a crime? How can you be an accomplice to a crime? Listen, I got a leg in this race.
Don't ever talk over Steven the sitcom Ortiz.
How can you be found guilty of being an accomplice to a crime if there's not been a crime that's been told has been committed yet by the person that they're an accomplice to?
But everybody has got everybody at the defense table has the presumption of innocence.
Right, the presumption of innocence, but the sheer fact that they're there and a judge has ruled, because if a judge has to rule, you just don't. Attorney-client privilege is not just something
indictment.
that disappears.
No, well, grand jury can hand down an indictment without a judge saying that, prosecutors indict people all the time without a judge signing off on it.
In these cases, the judges signed off on it because they were appealed, and they said, no, we can't testify because of attorney-client privilege. And so the judges signed off on it, and the judges said, and I could almost quote, it is more likely than not that the attorneys partook in a crime or worked with their client. And so therefore attorney-client privilege is no longer.
I want to see that in writing, because I think that goes, well, to your point, if that's the case and that's true, then that goes against the whole presumption of innocence in the court. And I think that would be grounds for appeal in itself, that a judge.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah, because you would think that a judge on a case will not want any grounds for appeal, and that's why I'm asking. But that's why I didn't also want to say. That's why I'm reluctant. I've had this question. I've asked it offline to other attorneys, and no one has ever gotten back to me. So either they're not getting it, or they're not receiving it, or they're like, I don't want to answer that because I don't really know. The closest I've gotten to
unfortunately, the audio stuff precluded us from having a real conversation with Steven today. It's been a while since we've had that kind of thing where his video feed seemed okay, except it froze every once in a while. But audio was a problem. So anyway, we won't know. We don't have the opportunity to ask that. I wanted to ask him about all these corrupt judges. Eileen,
that
Cannon, with her decision to indefinitely postpone the documents case, has me a little concerned. Like, I know there's some recourse with the 11th district that they can try to get her thrown off the case. That, that whole idea of anytime you get a judge who you don't like getting them thrown off the case, I think that's probably not a great thing to have happen. But she does seem to be absolutely in the defendant's pocket, like owned by the defendant in the case, which is a really troubling thing. I don't know about any of it, but we have so many questions. We're at a point where every judge in any high-profile case is being accused of being corrupt, or politically motivated and all that stuff. That's not a good place for the justice system to be at all. But like where I come back to with that reference to And Justice for All, the Al Pacino movie, everybody was crazy in that fucking movie. And I think it wasn't too far off from the reality of our legal justice system, where the lawyers are fucking nuts, the judges are nuts, the prosecutors, everybody's fucking nuts and it looks like that is the reality we're waking up to in 2024. What are you looking for? Through documents? You're not going to be able to show me a document up to your camera and say, look, this is what it says. Did you really think that that's what you were going to be able to do? Hold a piece of paper up to a camera and like we'd be able to read it off of that?
Because I'm black. I'm your teacher.
and you're my teacher, and
I find you attractive.
I know.
There it is.
Thank you very much. I find myself attractive, to be honest with you. Not right now. Right now, I feel like a doofus on a digital broadcast that I wish I could just end.
Well, I do have some entertainment stuff we could talk about. There's some good stuff to talk about.
Thank God for entertainment news. But do we also have observances, Steve? I know we didn't get to any lately, but I'm all for observances before we get to entertainment news. Do we have?
Yeah, we got some observances today. Yeah.
I got to come up with an intro for the observances.
We can figure that out. So Alphabet Magnet Day. So for those of you that like to leave messages on your fridge for your family, celebrate Alphabet Magnet Day.
So you buy a big box of them, and you're just so you can write. It's like skywriting. Like you have.
Yeah.
Oh, I need another P. Like I couldn't spell Napo unless I had two sets of alpha.
It's Ascension Day all over the world,
which means
the Christian holiday that doubles as a public holiday in many countries. It's Ascension Day of Saint Martin and Saint Bartholomew. Reflecting on the significance of Christ's life, death, and resurrection and ascension.
How are we supposed to observe it? What are we supposed? That's my question. Like ascension, am I supposed to stand up? Am I supposed to?
Let's see here. So you're supposed to read the Gospels.
Oh, that's out. All right, forget it. Move on.
Okay, yeah, that's where it lost me too. Okay, so moving on.
He just got his back. He's sulking. He's fucking sulking.
I don't have anything to cheer him up at the moment. I don't have any penis-shaped objects to throw at him. Lost Sock Memorial Day. So in honor of all the lost socks in the world, moment of silence. All right, I think that'll do. And
I think Ron had a lost sock yesterday, if you noticed.
He did. He did. No, it wasn't lost.
He was a day ahead of the observance.
Yeah, that's how much I care.
He's also beating us to make love to your sock day. But anyways.
Ew. I never got that whole idea where people, this reference to people jerking off in a sock. Like, aren't you afraid you're going to give yourself athlete's dick? Are you afraid?
I've never looked at a pack of Hanes socks and was like, give me some of that. That's never been a thing.
I mean, God, jerking off in a sock. You're going to have to put that on your foot someday. You want a cummy foot or do you want athlete's dick? That's your choice. Cummy sock or athlete's dick.
Can we clip that? How do I want to do hit B?
I mean, why don't parents give their teenage sons fleshlights? Honestly.
Yeah, and you can get them at Tracy's Dog.
Hey, you might be able to save some towels.
I think Ron has just hit on a very good marketing strategy. We will target parents of teenage boys with the fleshlight push.
Teach your kids with forced ejaculation technology.
Right. Well, that's a little rough on a 13-year-old. I don't think they need force. They're gonna.
They just need something that's a little soft and warm.
In my case, all I needed was like the wind to blow.
Yep. Oh, it's sprinkling. I came. All right.
I just need a good Psychology Today magazine.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of that, National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day.
No what? I don't. I don't know.
I don't make these lists, guys. I don't make these lists. This is just in the list
we're
order
hopeless
that I'm
in that
reading it.
regard. It's not going to happen.
I don't know what this means, but National Christina Day.
Is that about the car? Oh, that's
No,
Christine.
it's about ladies named Christina.
Oh, we haven't heard from Christina in a while.
Curious on how we're supposed to celebrate this. Let's see.
The snake lady.
I guess everybody gets
become
one.
friends with.
Now, have we crossed the line?
You have to become friends with the Christina, and that's where it lost me as well.
Oh,
okay, and then last but not least, National Moscato Day.
National what?
Moscato Day.
Oh, wow! Well,
Is that little cookie crumbly biscuit type thing?
No, it's wine.
Are you sure it's not Maniscalco Day? Is that what you mean?
No, it's Moscato.
Manicotti.
Moscato. It's a white wine.
Oh, okay.
Of
All
course
right,
it
it's
is.
time to move on, ladies and gentlemen.
And now, bringing you the latest in entertainment news from Hollywood, New York, and East Bumfuck, Montana. Here's our chief entertainment correspondent, Ron Kane. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showbiz.
Showbiz, everybody. We're gonna start on
Come on, people! I'm late for a meeting here. Let's go.
Exactly. We're gonna start with a death today, and I'm not sure if you heard, but Steve Albini died yesterday. He's a storied record producer and an icon, and he died at 61 of a heart attack. He was the frontman for the band Shellac and Big Black frontman also. But he is really known for recording such classic albums by Nirvana, the Pixies, PJ Harvey, and a slew of more bands. So he died yesterday.
I think it was because it's been trending for like 3 days. I think it was more than yesterday, right? It was.
Maybe.
Maybe he was laying in bed ready to die while he was trending. I think he had the heart attack like Monday or something. But all right.
Yeah, the big thing with him is when he would record with bands, he would just take a flat rate and he would not take a cut of the album sales.
I saw that. That's impressive.
Yeah. Good for him, man. That's
but
what
because it's very rare that like music producers have celebrity status like that. I mean, there's a few Mutt Lange, Phil Ramone,
Weinstein,
George Martin, of course. But I mean, there's not a whole lot of celebrity producers in music who famous for. Most people don't even know who produced.
Yeah,
that.
Berry Gordy, Phil Spector.
Yeah, and the other thing,
not for other reasons.
The other thing with him is if you were a band and you recorded your album with him, once it was done, you weren't allowed to do anything else with it. Like once he got the mix done, that was it, and you had to settle for it because
what do you mean?
So he didn't really believe in overdubs and things like that. He kind of is like, once you do it, we have it, and that's how it should be. Even if it's not perfect, it's going to sound good. And yeah, so some bands kind of had an issue with that, but they lived with it because of what he would do. So yes, Steve Albini died of a heart attack at 61. Yeah.
Younger than me. Another guy younger than me dying of a heart attack is not good news.
Well, let's be fair. I don't think Steve really lived the healthiest lifestyle.
And you think I did?
Most of us don't. Don't.
He really dabbled in hard drugs, possibly. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, it's.
We'll say it.
It has to be true. You just reported it.
We'll slander and libel his dead corpse anyway. We don't know if it's true. I also heard he was into.
I don't think so. No.
Pedophilia, and he was an NAMBLA president.
I heard that he was an actual founder of the Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts and NAMBLA are the same organization.
So, like I said, I know you guys have been following this feud between Kendrick Lamar and Drake
religiously.
But, and just to let you know, Kendrick Lamar's back catalog is up 49% More
Wow.
people are listening, 49%. And Drake's is down 5%.
Wow. So we have a pretty clear winner in this feud then.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying Kendrick has definitely won this and that it should be over at this point because Drake is just embarrassing himself. So
let's see if we can get Drake on the program.
Yeah, well, he might. He needs the PR, especially after that guy got shot at his house.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any news about Queen putting up their catalog of music for sale? It's like they're asking for like $1.1 billion or something.
No, I didn't see anything about that. I'm not surprised.
I'm just saying because I'm putting in a bid for it. I just wanted to know if I was still in the running.
Now, this is curious because is it Freddie Mercury? Who did they write the songs as a collaboration? Was it like a Queen catalog, or were they individual songwriters? Like Freddie Mercury wrote songs and Brian May wrote songs.
The entire catalog is up for sale. So I'm assuming that the estate of Freddie Mercury got together with Brian May and Deacon and Taylor. And they said, let's sell it, 1.1 billion, or highest bidder.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of bands have done that lately. Like Bruce Springsteen sold his like a year ago.
$500 million.
Kiss is selling theirs or sold theirs.
Yes. Yeah.
Stevie Nicks, Bob Dylan. I think Paul Simon too. So
Yeah.
big money in that stuff.
Well, yeah, and they're just selling them to like conglomerates. So these big corporations are buying them. So then
I sold my catalog last week for a bag of Mind Dog coffee.
I've got so much coffee. In the entertainment, this is big news in the entertainment world, especially TV. Disney and Warner Brothers